back to Crit and Crit. I am Axion.
And I'm Scint.
And we are continuing with Eversion and our discussion of Call of Cthulhu.
So we've basically recapped the plot at this point, but there are a few things we can look at with this, and the frame is something that I'd like to look at.
Alright.
At least in terms of, many of his stories take the form of looking over lost diary. Oh, hey, you found your meat.
Yep.
Lost diary entries and newspaper articles and investigative journalists trying to piece together some degree of sense out of the madness that they find themselves looking at.
Yep. This is a really, really common framing device and trope that Lovecraft uses, and it's kind of like the literary equivalent of a found footage movie, something like Blair Witch Project or something.
Oh yeah, and it's not just him that does this. There's a really strong literary tradition of, just epistolary novels or things like that. Phantom of the Opera is... Oh, haha, fell down. Phantom of the Opera is one that, our narrator is basically recounting the events of what happens in the story, leaving names out if he needs to, and just telling us what he's found. Frankenstein also pretty famously starts off, basically, it's entirely contained in a series of letters. Frankenstein's story is entirely told in flashback to Robert Walton. So it's not as though the precedent hadn't been set by the time that Lovecraft wrote this in the 1920s.
Yep, it was hardly unusual.
Yep, it does allow for a certain detachment from the story, though, where it's you have to do a lot of lateral thinking and piecing information together to get a better feel for your narrator's personality and biases and so on and so forth, because unreliable narrators are also definitely a thing. And we kind of see that in terms of how many of the people in Call of Cthulhu have very faulty memories with regards to what they have witnessed of everything that's been going on. And, I don't think the frame novel of that regard, the found footage, is for everyone, and it definitely doesn't help every story, but it definitely adds something interesting to many stories. I don't know how I would have received Call of Cthulhu in a different form, because, well, obviously I haven't seen it in a different form. What are your thoughts?
I think it could have worked in the sense of being a story told in the direct experience, and Lovecraft certainly doesn't shy away from doing stories like that. There's more than a few of his stories that take place in the active investigation of this or that phenomenon. But at the same time, he's very fond of this particular trope and does it quite regularly with his stories. I was trying to get up here, and the little guys walked away. There we go. Especially since a lot of Lovecraft's tales take place in, what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
Either, sometime after certain characters that are important to the story have either died or disappeared.
Posthumous?
Posthumous investigations of things are very common in Lovecraft's works.
It makes sense, though, because if he wants to keep the sense of everything is going to kill you if you're not careful, you kind of have to make sure that there are people who can verify that by being dead.
Yep.
certainly does add to the tone in that regard. Try jumping over. Like, jump off of the guy squatting on the top bar and see if you can jump over the ledge, maybe.
That might be an idea, then.
There you go.
I was hoping to try and find the
letter.
Letter.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Or the rest of the gems. Well, no, I've got all the gems in this level.
But yeah, like, the idea of found footage, like, it generally leads to just a kind of a feel of a, you know, more average everyday person getting mixed up in this rather than, like, grandiose heroes, because it's like, oh, our protagonist in this story stumbled into it because he had to look over everything that his uncle had left for basically, like, will purposes and power of attorney stuff.
Right.
So it's just, everyone can have access to, like, a relative who dies under mysterious circumstances and needs to sort through the pieces. So that's not entirely out of the pale. So it kind of helps bring the fantastic elements of there is an elder fish god who wants to destroy the world and is going to wake up everything with the power to do it. Makes it a little bit more plausible. It's like, yeah, no, I found this research in my estranged relative's stuff, and he was looking into some weirdness, and he died before he could make sense of it.
Yep, and there's a lot of that in Lovecraft's work. A lot of it is people doing things like looking through old family records and finding something odd, or people discovering that they have relatives they didn't know about, or that they have connections to places they've never visited in person. A lot of times it's colleagues that are investigating something weird, and then they call in the protagonist to share in the investigation, and that dude is freaking out.
I mean, wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting up there. Okay, prove me wrong.
I mean, I was going to try it, but no, you're right. I don't think I can get up there right now.
Yeah, not with that solid bush. You'd have to find an aversion point.
But yeah, people getting mixed up in this stuff have lots of ways of doing it, but since Lovecraft is very big on don't directly show the monster. I will give Lovecraft this, for the things that he does do wrong, he is, at least in my opinion, very good about certain aspects of his chosen field, and one of those is that he is very much... he doesn't just say, there's the monster, here's what it looks like. He only gives vague impressions and, like, bits and pieces, just enough to make it clear that something here is out of the ordinary without directly stating it. And for horror, that works better than just outright describing the thing you're dealing with, because that leaves the reader's imagination to fill in the blanks. And what we can conjure in our own heads from limited information is often much scarier than what even the most skilled horror writer can actually put with pen to paper.
Yep, that's why you never hear any actual description of Sauron. Like, you get a hand in the movies a little bit here and there because he had with the ring on it, but mostly all you see is the enchanted eye beacon he has to keep watch on the plot for reasons. You never actually see him to see what everybody's freaked out by.
Yep, and even when he does make appearances, he's always in his armor. There's never any depiction of what Sauron looks like underneath. And even in the books, for what little I know about Lord of the Rings, because here's where I'm going to reveal my heathenry. I did not care for the Lord of the Rings books. I could not finish them. But from what I do remember from when I tried to read them is that Sauron is described in those books as very much like an otherworldly being that he is, in that he is described with adjectives about how he is amazing and overwhelming and terrible and all that, but there's very little description of him as far as physicality. It's more about his presence. And Lovecraft does the same kind of thing. He gives just enough bare-bones details about what the characters are seeing, and then spends a lot more time on what the characters are feeling.
Which is honestly kind of interesting, because a lot of the impression I get from what I've read of Lovecraft is that the dude isn't that big on, feelings mattering very much, because everything he writes about is extraordinarily bleak, extraordinarily hopeless, so what is the point of actually addressing the feelings?
Right, this is the first level where I did not get much done. I'm going to need to figure out how to...
Verse back into some place you can get the gems out of.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how. It's been a long time since I've looked at Eversion. But yeah, you need to be able to get through, so try going back. Because, check the ground if you can do without getting impaled and see if there's an Everse point. Oh, hey! I didn't know the S was there.
I didn't either.
Well, I had some good instincts. And then they stopped being good.
I mean, they were good enough to find what was hidden there. I was just hoping there was more. Okay, that's probably for the best anyway. I destroyed the platform I needed. But yeah, you were saying about Lovecraft's choice of wording.
It's just the fact that you say he focuses so much on how his characters feel just seems kind of the opposite of my impression of it, because, I got the impression that he didn't much care about the feelings of his characters, because, well, the whole thing is cosmic horror, an unfeeling universe that does not care about your survival, let alone whether or not you're feeling a little bit disconcerted by what you've seen.
Oh,
so,
he certainly didn't care in that sense.
Yeah.
But he does put a lot of emphasis on...
Go down here.
Go down? Oh, you mean down here?
Yeah, yeah, because you never know. You haven't... Okay, not quite that far, but you hadn't checked there, and I wasn't sure if there might be an Everse point, but... I don't know.
It's worth looking. But yeah, I was more meaning that the way he handles it in the story is with more emphasis on the characters saying, I reacted to such and such in this way, rather than strictly focusing on the specific
that would have been a perfect spot.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Ah, crud. He spends a lot of time describing his characters' reactions to things and how they are mortified or disturbed. Ah! Or, disconcerted about things. But he does make a point to point out that just because you are disconcerted by this, the rest of the universe does not care. Reality is not going to... I didn't want to do that yet. I have an idea. It might be in here.
I think you killed too much of the stairs.
myself just enough to get out. I was hoping there might be an Eversion point buried underneath there. Maybe in here? Nope. But yeah, it's not really about... It's about showing that this is how people react to the horrible things they're experiencing, but without giving any sympathy to that reaction. This is just how reality is, and it does not care about your emotional response, because reality is too big for you. But at the same time, acknowledging that this is why reality is horrifying, because it does these things and it does not care about your reaction. There's gotta be
an Everse point back in the first part of the level, but I don't know how to get to it, because like, I know you can only get to some in different stages of immersion, and...
Yeah, we may have to look this one up off-screen, because we are a bit puzzled. But we can always move on to another stage, and we did get something out of this one. We got the O. Or the S. Which, anyway, that kind of does get over to cosmic horror as a concept. What do you actually think of when someone mentions cosmic horror to you, other than just the basic, like, premise of something like Lovecraft?
Basically just Lovecraft. Like, the idea that it's like, there's regular horror where it's, oh look, we have the monster and it's gonna eat you, and then there's psychological horror where it's, what if you're really crazy and it's not actually there, and it's just your brain becoming an enemy against you. And cosmic horror is just the idea that the world is full of horrors and nothing actually matters. It is peak existential dread, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Ah, crud.
So I'll defer to you as an expert in the genre on that one as to how accurate my
it's not
experience
inaccurate, but it's incomplete. The basic premise of cosmic horror is about understanding one's role in one's infinitesimally small role in the workings of the universe, and how most people just doing their day-to-day aren't capable... Crud, I mismentioned this. Did I get it? I think I got it. Aren't capable of really comprehending all of that particular detail about themselves, because the human mind is not designed to fathom those things on that kind of level. It's not built with that sort of thing in mind for survival. Oh good, I got the gem. Ah, crud. The best
you also got these hands.
The best way I've seen it explained was, imagine if you had an ant. And that ant is walking around on a computer motherboard. This is an unusual and bizarre circumstance for an ant to find itself in, and an ant that does so might find itself being quite frightened. But that is just horror, or fear, in a very simplistic manner. The ant is afraid because it is in some place that is unfamiliar and new, but there is nothing existential about that. What makes it go from simple horror to existential horror is if the ant, for a split second, is capable of comprehending what it's looking at and what's going on around it, and for a moment can see things as they are. and then that ability vanishes. The ant now has these memories of being able to understand something well beyond its ability to ever fully comprehend again, and is stuck with these memories that it can now no longer understand in full. That didn't work. That's what cosmic horror is. It is a glimpse for a moment of things that the human mind is not meant to be able to comprehend and lacks the field of reference to be able to fully calculate. Yay, I got him.
Yay.
And a moment of clarity and understanding that then vanishes back into the ether of incomprehensibility, leaving you with the memory of being able to fathom this unfathomable thing that you have experienced, but now lacking the comprehension to fully understand the nature of what you have experienced. You have these memories now, you know you experienced them, you know this happened to you, and you know that for a moment you understood. But now it is gone, and you are stuck with this bit of information in your head that you cannot puzzle together, and it is never going to leave you, and you're never going to be able to go back to being fully ignorant of your place in the world, but you are also never going to be able to fully wrap your brain around what you have now stuck in your memories.
In a sense, it's kind of growing up on steroids.
It kind of is. And
because, like, think about it. As adults, there's a lot about the world that makes absolutely no sense. Like, we understand that things happen in a certain way, but from the basis of everything we're told as children, there are parts of that that just do not have logical, coherent thoughts. So, it's a lot of growing up is realizing that is not the place we always thought it was. There will always be these sort of issues, and they're not without many things changing in a way that we alone are not capable of forcing.
right.
But, you know, there's fewer horrifying space tentacle monsters.
Right, and the horrifying space tentacle monsters are just basically manifestations and personifications of the horrifyingly what's the word I'm looking for? Ambivalent? Is that the right word? The uncaring and unattentive nature of the universe. Lovecraft was very much a nihilist, but a specific kind of nihilist who believes that everything does not matter, and that our lives are but a pointless blip of an accident. There's a different kind of nihilism that is a lot more popular among certain groups. That's kind of like an optimistic nihilism, where reality is indeed without purpose, but that means that we should fill it with our own purpose. We should come up with meaning for life ourselves, rather than waiting for life to be given meaning by some arbitrary authority, be it a leadership, a deity, or a faith. politics.
And wasn't there an averse point up in that horseshoe?
Where at? Horseshoe? Oh, I can't get up there
Yeah,
yet, but yes, there is.
the horseshoe.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't jump that high yet.
Oh, right, there's a plant there usually.
Yeah, there will be a tree there that can
I remember.
Later. But yeah, Lovecraft was not that kind of atheist. Not that kind of... well, I think he was an atheist.
Nihilist.
Not that kind of nihilist. He was the kind of nihilist who believes since life is meaningless, and there is no inherent meaning or purpose to our existence, that means that we are purposeless, and that the universe is uncaring of us, and that to him was horrifying. Because it meant that there was no one to... Basically, no one was watching, no one was paying attention, no one was giving any care or acknowledgement of our lives, and that... Here we go. Yeah, I need the clouds. And that humanity was basically doomed to exist in a vast universe that was mostly hostile and unlivable to us. And he wasn't completely wrong. There is a lot about the universe that is hostile to human life. That is...
Wait, how do you get down there? Go back.
Go down where? Down here? I went in there earlier.
No,
there were
over left.
Oh,
left.
I am going left.
Now you can see their eyes.
Yeah, I think I can get in there now because I can stand on this. Nope, I need to avert to a lower level where I can stand on this tree and jump to this cloud. The cloud is solid right now.
Okay.
But
right.
it will let me climb up here and bonk these things. So I need to avert again, which means I need to find another aversion point. Anyway, that was where Lovecraft kind of was in his mind. And he expressed a lot of that through the way he wrote, and how almost all of his stories, to some degree or another, are about despair and hopelessness. And while he's very, very good at painting pictures of horror and desperation, he was not a happy person. And
I mean, we've all been on LiveJournal.
And I can't knock it. I honestly can't argue with you. Lovecraft would 100% have been on some kind of goth trip as a teen in the modern era. I screwed up. I gotta go back.
I'm just trying to imagine what high-quality MIDI he would have had on his MySpace homepage. Black Parade, you think?
Something like that, anyway. No, I need to avert back to a level where I can walk through those.
This is the most frustrated little marigold person.
But yeah, honestly, I think that kind of wraps it up as far as talking about just the
Cosmic horror found footage.
Concept of cosmic horror, and yeah, I think we kind of, between the beginning of this and the last episode, we kind of handled the cosmic horror thing already. But yeah, we'll call it here, and we will continue in the next episode. See y'all then.
Alright.